Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network, coming to you from the TeacherCast studios since 2011. Join us each week as we bring you the latest educational news, EdTech updates, and hottest interviews with today's most influential leaders in education. And now, for your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, and this is episode 21 of the Jeff Bradbury Show. That's right, if you're a podcaster, blogger, speaker, creator, any type of content creator out there, this is the show for you. And thank you guys for checking it out. This is actually the second Jeff Bradbury Show we're putting out this week, the second of 3. So make sure that you have your podcast players all lined up. We have a lot of great content, and if you're out there looking to build your EDU brand, check out all the great stuff over on buildyouredubrand.com, and that is what we're here to do today. You see, this is a very special weekend coming up, not only because of some of the events, but because of a very special day on Saturday. I want to take you guys back 9 years. 9 years, around this time, actually, I was thinking about doing something. I wasn't sure if I should do it. I was thinking about coming up with a website, thinking about coming up with a podcast, thinking about, what can I do really to help out the teachers in my school district? What can I do to be, helpful around this area? And it wasn't until the morning of July 11th, 2001, when it hit me. The Apple hit me, the website hit me, the word TeacherCast formed, and at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, whenever it was, I got out of bed and literally changed my life. I decided at that point to build my EDU brand. So what's your story? How did you start your first podcast, your blog? How did you create your first website? What is that story? Today we're going to be talking all about a new adventure in TeacherCast, online virtual conferences. I know that we live in that weird time where, nobody wants to get out of their house. Nobody can get out of their house and go to a conference. I mean, look, we just didn't have ISTE. We just didn't have a bunch of ed camps. We just didn't have a whole mess of other physical things. And it doesn't take that long on Twitter to go through and see that there's a lot of great things happening in the virtual space. And there's a lot of amazing online presentations, online podcasts, online learning, and there's so many different great platforms out there. Here's what I want you guys to think about today. How are you building your EDU brand through these opportunities? Today is Wednesday, July 8th, and in only 2 days, the world is going to have 2 great events. One is going to be a 24-hour-long virtual event called Ed Change Global, hosted by Cassie Reeder and a bunch of amazing people. I don't want to go through the entire list, but Cassie's a good friend of our channel here. And I'm going to be actually presenting on Friday at 4 o'clock at Ed Change Global, and we're going to be doing an amazing presentation called 10 Ways That You Can Build Your EDU Brand. I'm going to be talking about a lot of the topics that we've hit here, but really laying out the groundwork for anybody that's interested in starting their podcast, website, blog, speaking, book career, any of those things. So if you get a chance to check out this episode before then, I hope you have a chance to join us at 4 o'clock. I'll certainly be putting out the links all throughout the social medias and on the website, so that way you know how to do that. If you have a chance, Ed Change Global is great. I've been thinking about this because there's a lot of great events. And at the end of the summer, there's 2 more great virtual conference events. One done by our good friend Chuck Poole, who's got a great event happening at the end of the year. He's got an amazing array of speakers, and he asked me to be a part of that. Looking forward to it. And then a few weeks ago, we had our friend Erica Terry on, and she's doing an entire virtual conference all about being an entrepreneur, all about her brand, her Classroom to CEO brand. And I'm looking forward to doing that. In fact, I'm going to be doing a similar session on branding and how to build your EDU brand. And I'm looking forward to putting that together with her as we go through the summertime. And really, for all of these entrepreneur things, for putting together a podcast, for putting together a blog, for putting together, a book, anything like that, any entrepreneur has to take a look at an idea and say, why not me? Why not me? Why can't we do this? Why can't I do this? Somebody else is writing a book. Hey, why not me? Somebody else is making a podcast. Why not me? And that doesn't mean that you're doing the same concepts, but it's about taking that first step, putting yourself out there and building your EDU brand. So today, we're not only going to be exploring these virtual concepts and virtual conferences, I should say, but also how. How can we use them to leverage our brand? How can we use them to build up our EDU brands? Well, we talked about Erica Terry's, we talked about Chuck Pools, and we talked about EdChange Global. But there's 3 more events I wanted to share with you guys. 3 more events that are kind of personal, kind of special. And I took a look at the educational landscape and said, where can I fit into all of this? Where does TeacherCast fit into all of this? And that's why, we've had a lot of time to think about this over the last little bit. And if you look at where I am, I've been teaching in a Google environment, and my school district is asking me now to help build their EDU brands into more of a Microsoft 365. We're actually going into a hybrid system. And so what I've been doing over the last couple days, or weeks, I should say, is I've been learning about Teams, not only as a user, but as a trainer. I've started training our tech coaches in Teams. I've started training our administration in Teams. I've started learning things like SharePoint and Sway and other Office events, right? But I've been helping to train our district of 18,000 members into a brand new system. And that got me thinking, because 9 years ago, when I first started all of this, I didn't know about Apple. I didn't know about Macs. I was actually in a new classroom with a brand new Mac lab, and I needed to figure out how to do all these things. That's when I found a great podcast that taught me about that, and that's when I made friends with that podcaster, and that's really the basis of having TeacherCast. That whole, hey, if you can do something, I can do that too, but let's do that slightly differently, and I'm gonna carve out my own niche and carve out my own lane. And the podcast was really just an answer for, I need to learn something, so let's put it together. I'm going to bring on the experts onto my show. And now that I've done a show or two on a topic like flipped learning or, something else, now I'm a little bit more knowledgeable. I can start to learn things easier, turnkey, etc. I'm proud to say that I'm at this junction where that's actually happening again, but not necessarily for my school, but for everybody out there. On Saturday, July 11th, only a few days from now, I'm putting on my first virtual conference. An entire day, 9 to 3 to be exact, of virtual learning. We've got amazing speakers, and the entire platform is going to be designed for how you can bring in, implement, and utilize Microsoft 365 in your classroom. And you know what? If you're going to go reach for the sky. I've brought in an amazing partner to work with, the great company NCCE, and I have been helping them out for the last year or two. And I approached them and said, I'd like to do an online conference to show off how Microsoft can be used in the classroom. That not only helps their brand, that not only helps my brand, but that also helps bring in a wealth of information and knowledge to put on this conference. And just like 9 years ago, I did a podcast featuring some expert teachers on a subject. This is kind of the same thing, but instead of doing it for 45 minutes, We're doing it for 6 or 7 hours. And I'm going to have such a great time. It's going to be out there on TeacherCast. In fact, you can check it out this week live at teachercast.net/Microsoft Live. That takes you directly to the YouTube page where you can check it out. You can subscribe. You can interact. And then at the end of the conference, we're going to break it down, and I'll make sure that you guys have all of the access. This is a great way that I'm building my EDU brand. You see, it's not necessarily about being a participant and what that means, and we'll get to that in a second, but also now you're being the creator. You're putting your brand out on the top of these things, or in my case, on the side. So the first event that I wanted to share with you guys is this Microsoft event on July 11th. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. 2 weeks later, we're going to come back on July 25th. And we're going to build our EDU brands with a second virtual conference, one that features Google, G Suite for Education. We're actually teaming up TeacherCast, NCCE, and the Google Educator Global Network. This amazing network, who we've featured on this show before, has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people right now globally working together to help teach teachers how to use G Suite in their classrooms. And you know, I've been a Google Education Group leader now for the last 7 or 8 years. Now I moved from New Jersey into Connecticut. I'm helping to put this Connecticut group together. It's another way I'm building my EDU brand. But I'm also helping it out on the global level. And I love that. It's a great opportunity to make friends, network, help others out, be a part of their conferences. And if you're not following them, certainly do. They're always at Global GEG. They're doing an amazing amount of virtual conferences this year. They're doing boot camps on both level 1 and level 2. And I'm happy and excited because on July 25th, we're putting it together an entire, we're calling it Beyond the Boot Camp. And we're getting a whole bunch of Google certified educators and trainers and teachers and all these different things to put together what happens if you not only take level 1 and 2, but if you really want to, go all in Google and do some great things. That one's going to be from 9 to 6 on July 25th. And so I'm excited because as a middle school teacher who's going to be working in a hybrid system, I'm now putting together a learning environment, not just for myself, not just for my teachers, but for everybody. And it only took a few phone calls of, hey, are you interested in doing that? And by the way, if you're looking to join that one, present maybe, it's teachercast.net/G Suite Live. You can check that out. That also takes you to the YouTube channel where you can subscribe and check it out on July 25th. But as you guys know, I am a tech coach. I do a show called Ask the Tech Coach. I love helping out and supporting the tech coach community. And it doesn't take long before you look around and you say, well, there's a lot of great stuff for Microsoft and for Google and for Flipgrid and for all these different things. But what about tech coaches? And so on August 8th, I am really excited to be bringing the tech coach community a brand new online learning conference for tech coaches by tech coaches. Right now, we're calling it Tech Coach Live, although that might change between now and then. But that is going to be hitting great topics that tech coach needs. It's going to be hitting topics like, what does a tech coach resume look like? How do you get hired as a tech coach? And so we're going to have coaches on. We're going to have tech directors on. And the idea is to have an entire virtual conference to help and support instructional technology specialists. If that's for you, I'd love to have you guys there. You can go to teachercast.net/techcoachlive. So as you can see, I'm celebrating 9 years of being a content creator by creating content at a much broader scale with the help of great groups like NCCE, the Google Educator Group, and the Google Educator Tech Coaches Group, which we're starting to kind of offshoot and form. And we have some great tech coaches from around the globe that are going to be putting this together, along with our co-host Susan, who helps me out every single week with the Ask the Tech Coach show. Why is this important, right? What can virtual conferences do for you? Well, number one, they're an easy way to get your name out there. They're an easy way for you to be a presenter, and suddenly the entire country, the entire world sees your sessions. Take the work that we're doing this week at EdChange Global. You do one session from your living room and everybody sees it. Right? You don't have to get into an airplane and go out to a conference or an ISTE or something like that. You come in, you do your hour, and you're done. It's also a great way to get subscribers onto your newsletter. If you have a newsletter and a website and a platform, you can simply say, here's my presentation. If you'd like to sign up for any of these resources, fill out this form. And then that puts you on a drip campaign, that gives you the newsletter, that gets you more followers, and you can start to build your internal brand through your virtual conferences. It also gives you the opportunity to network with people and get your names out there, right? I kind of said that earlier, but really the biggest thing about building your brand is just consistency, professionalism. What can you do to be different? What can you do to stand out amongst all others? And having these opportunities is a great way to not only showcase what you have, but to challenge yourself. I think it's easy to stand up in front of a bunch of people, adults, students, whatever, and give a great presentation. I don't think it's easy to stand up in front of your computer screen and be entertaining. Now, look, let's be honest. We all know we've seen presentations that are not exciting. We've all seen presentations that are good, but the technology doesn't always work. And this is an opportunity for you to test yourself and prepare yourself for doing these great things. I'm looking forward to EdChange Global. It's a live event. I'm looking forward to these 3 summertime activities, these 3 summertime virtual conferences, because for me, it's going to be like hosting a 6 or 8 hour podcast with all of my good friends. And I hope you have a chance to check it out. When it comes to the ones at the end of the summer for Erica and for Chuck, I like those just as much because for those sessions, they ask for videos in advance. And then for their conference, they essentially just drip them out at specific times. I like those because it gives you the opportunity to put together a presentation, stick it into your editor, make it all look good, make it look as pretty and professional as possible, and then you send your best work out. What do you think? Have you out there used virtual conferences to help build your EDU brands? If so, which ones have you? Which ones do you recommend? What are the good conferences that are out there that you would suggest attending? And my question to you really is, why do you attend them? Is it for the speakers? Is it for the topics? Is it for the presentations? What brings you to watch a virtual conference? Because look, if we're putting a couple on this summer, I'd love to know. I know many of you guys are out there and you're trying to figure out how to build your podcast. I hope you guys had a chance to check out my episode that hit this week earlier with our good friend Matt Passy, all about podcast coaching, podcast consulting. On Friday of this week, I'm going to be putting out another bonus episode with our good friend Dr. Frank Buck, all about building his EDU brand through his retirement years. And that's going to be one. Even if you're in your 20s or 30s, he's got some great advice for building a brand, and he's been doing it for a long time. So I hope you guys have a chance to check all that stuff out. We are still looking for some great guests throughout the summer to bring you guys more bonus content. If you'd like to be featured on the show, we would love to have you. All we're looking for is 5 great ways to build your EDU brand through, and you can fill in the blanks after that. All of our great resources are over on buildyouredubrand.com. We've got help and support for podcasting, getting on LinkedIn, social media, and so much more. I am so happy that you guys took the time to follow this show. And don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, and let them know that if they are out there looking to become bloggers, podcasters, speakers, content creators of any kind, we are here to talk to you, and we are here to help you build your EDU brand. So guys, just in wrapping up here, it has been an amazing 9 years of doing TeacherCast. I can't believe we are absolutely there, and I'm having such a good time. I'm looking forward to the virtual conferences. You can, of course, check out the one this weekend over at teachercast.net/Microsoft Live. And I hope you guys have a chance to not only subscribe to our YouTube channel, but all of the great stuff on TeacherCast. So on behalf of everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.